Businessman Aliko Dangote's remarks that the marketers were not approaching his refinery for purchase of petroleum products. Now, this happens to be the latest twist in months-long sagas following the rollout of premium motor spirit, also known as petrol, from Dangote Refinery in September. Now, we are being joined by energy expert Dan Kunle for a quick conversation around this brewing controversy over pricing of products from the 650,000 capacity refinery. Price differentials of the products in various parts of the country, including Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, and Kano, as well as the unresolved matter of deregulation of the downstream sector and what possible impact it would be having on the current situation of the local market. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Adesua. And thank you very much for hosting me within the last 1 week. This is my second appearance. Well, last week, Sunday, I think I was with Dr. Ruben Abati.
Okay, well.
And thank you very much for the global audience attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us again here on Our Rise, and particularly on the morning show. Now, let's get straight into it. It seems that IPMAN and Dangote have been butting heads, particularly in the news, in the media. But the Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria have come out to say that Dangote Refinery's PMS is more expensive than that which is imported. So when we talk about these price differentials, when Dangote says that they're not approaching him and they say that it's more expensive to get petroleum from Dangote Refinery, can you explain to us a little bit what the issue is now between the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria and Dangote Refinery, and why it would be that Dangote Refinery's PMS is more expensive than that is being imported internationally from abroad?
Thank you very much. Let me clarify something to the audience, particularly the Nigerian audience and consumers. Dangote Refinery petrol pricing is not more expensive than the imported petrol. It's not. We seem at times to be carried away by some of these narratives that are just being fed into the space, into the market space. The local refinery operated by Dangote, if you check the price, is below 1,000 naira per liter. It's below 1,000 naira per liter. If you check the international landing price, even if it is about the same price, you will see, because of all the add-on costs and the demurrage and all the headaches in Apapa, you will see that the price will be a little bit still higher than Dangote's price. And the quality of what is being imported, because this is part of the problem. What is the quality of the product being imported, and what is the price? What is the quality of the petrol produced by Dangote Refinery, and the price they are talking about? So I am not convinced, and I don't want Nigerians to be swayed, because this lingering unnecessary distraction, I use the word unnecessary distraction. It is time Mr. President intervene and midwife this matter and resolve it, because it's a big distraction. The attention of the highest decision-making authority in this country should be on how to get this country more productive, more safe to grow food to feed our people, more safe to produce more crude oil, more safe to produce more gas for export, so that we can earn more money to sustain this teeming population that is becoming a big burden and a big cancer for this country. So this distraction we have gotten ourselves entrapped in for the last 6 months is unnecessary, and it is time Mr. President weigh in and resolve this matter. This pricing issue is unnecessary. Dangote Refinery petrol is not more expensive. IPMAN are spoiled children. It is time we remove this feeding button. This feeding bottle must be removed from their mouth. They are spoiled children. So it's time we face the reality. I use the word spoiled children because IPMAN does nothing more than just to take petrol from NNPC and resell, or whoever NNPC asks them to go to to resell. So over the years, their investment is tied to NNPC behavior. If NNPC behave well, they make money. If NNPC does not behave well, they lose money. IPMAN does not own refinery. They just own depot and petrol station across the country. And their supply is heavily dependent on NNPC. Their pricing mechanism is heavily dependent on NNPC. So how can you run an economy like that? It's never done for a country of this population with this huge crude oil reserve and gas. So I think it's time we just get on and move on and get out of this distraction.
All right. Mr. Kunle.
This is my submission.
It's okay. I mean, that's fine, and I like the way that you have, opened up and stated your position very clearly. But I'm wondering, and I believe that a lot of Nigerians too will wonder, what specifically you think that the intervention of the president will bring to resolve what's going on. The same president who promised, or reportedly promised, the Nigerian Labour Congress that the reason why minimum wage should stay at 70,000 and not a lot more than the NLC was, leadership was demanding, is because they promised them that there won't be a price increase. But guess what? You know that we have had at least 2 or 3 price increase in the price of petrol since at that time with since he had that discussion on minimum wage with the NLC. Is it the president that promised us that the 4 refineries of Nigeria will work because the NNPC assured him that they will work? So if the president cannot be trusted, in quotes, on his promise to the NLC and on his promise to the Nigerians as far as the workability of the 4 refineries will be, why should Nigerians wait for him to intervene in the matter of pricing between a private refinery, Dangote Refinery, and those who are doing their legitimate business at IPMAN that you do not seem to like? It's a deregulated economy. Why do you think that the price should be controlled either by the president or the NNPC? Why should that be, Mr. Kunle?
Thank you very much for this question. You have raised a very serious fundamental issue about governance. Governance. Who governs the governor? Who is the governor of Nigeria? President Tinubu. Who governs President Tinubu? The citizens of Nigeria who gave him mandate. So whom do we all look on to when we wake up? We look on to God. But in a nation, after God is president, by the constitutional arrangement of this country, President Tinubu is one of the most powerful presidents on earth because of the way the constitutional arrangement was produced in 1999. So if you look at it, there is no issue within Nigeria that the president of Nigeria cannot wade into. If he just show ordinary body language, it means a lot. Just body language of President Tinubu means a lot. So the issue of trust, as you have just rightly mentioned, for me, I still trust President Tinubu because I was among the people who insisted that the reform must be carried out. Even though the reform is not deep enough now, but I still believe we can plead with him, we can justify to him why deeper reform is necessary in the oil and gas. But having said in the oil and gas, reform is required across the sector, across the spectrum of the political economy of Nigeria. Constitutional reform is required. Educational reform is required. Health reform is required. So road rehabilitation reform is required. Water provision of water for the country reform is required. So even national orientation is required. Safety and security should be number 1. So I still believe that President Tinubu is the only one in this circumstance we find ourselves today that can spearhead to resolve any problem in this country. What his body language alone. He just need to galvanize.
Yeah, what would you like him to do?
I'm coming. I will go. I've given you a background to the fundamental question you raised, that after God is president of a nation And this circumstance of Nigeria, the president is even superpower. He has superpower. He's very powerful. I have worked closely with 2 or 3 presidents in the past, and I know the influence they wield. And even now, President Tinubu wielded more power than even some other former president who didn't know the meaning of power, who didn't use it effectively. So he can resolve this petroleum pricing argument or debate or narrative being fed into the market there. It is a very minor issue because it's just one product. It's a minor issue. The president is the minister of petroleum. For you who said, how can he resolve it? I trust he can resolve it. Complex political issues, President Tinubu resolved them. So this one is just a very small problem to him. Just from his body language alone, he knows what it means. NNPC and the midstream, downstream regulatory authority, they will fall in line. The market is deregulated, I agree with you, but it's not yet fully deregulated. The deep reform we are expecting has not happened. That is why you are seeing all this resistance here and there. It's because we are importing inflation. We are importing bad product to destroy our environment, destroy our cars. The petroleum grade, the petrol they are importing into this country, they are poor grades, very poor grade. They are not healthy for you and me. This is the same problem we had with the textile industry. My brother, Steve, let me take you into the historical lane of what happened to the textile industry in Nigeria. You go to Kaduna, go to Kano, go to Funtua, go to Guso, go and see the textile industry in this country. We were importing inferior textile fabrics, dumping them in this country from all over the world. And all the textile industry died. Do you know the implication of this? I will just give you a brief. I used to grow up to know so many cotton farmers in the north. They all, from the Dantatas, cotton farmers have gone. All the ginnery, cotton ginneries, all the oil mill, you know the cotton seed used to be fed into oil mill. We used to get vegetable oil from the cotton seeds. All have died because the textile industry was killed. The same way the oil and gas industry of this country will be killed if we are not careful. That is why we need to justify the reason why the president must intervene. Because if you kill the oil and gas industry, agriculture is the next that you can use. But where is the investment into agriculture? You need highly mechanized agricultural scheme to produce large food for feeding your population and for export to earn dollars, to sustain our appetite for foreign goods. So it is not rocket science. It is not rocket science. We just need the elites. We need the elites to assemble to prevail on President Tinubu. President Tinubu, I still trust that he can do the right thing.
All right.
I still trust. I have not lost confidence as for me.
Okay, Mr. Dan, if I can come in here, I mean, from everything that we've seen, even from the statements that have been put out by both sides, there seems to be a lack of transparency still, surrounding this pricing between Dangote and NNPC. With Dangote now being the only functional refinery currently in Nigeria, as an oil and gas expert, I wonder if you have any thoughts on the possibility of future risks in monopolistic practices, thinking of how that could impact consumers in the long run. What specific actions do you think could help, because what Nigerians really want is a stability in the market to just ensure fair pricing for its consumers?
My darling sister Swetan, for the last 20 years, who has monopolized the importation of petrol into this country? NNPC and their fingers created. Why have they kept the government-owned refinery prostrate and abandoned in the last 20 years? So as you are asking this question in one hand, you must ask the other counter question from the other hand. So if as a businessman, I saw the window that you have destroyed the government-owned refinery and you have been importing, and I decided to invest my money and risk everything about my life for the patriotic zeal in me. And I set up a refinery because I see the gap. And the refinery is ready to work. And in the meantime, when government saw that my refinery was coming up, I said it on this very platform in 2017. I wrote a memo to the then Minister of Petroleum that Are you now ramping up to rehabilitate the refinery because you know that in 2-3 years' time down the line, Dangote Refinery will be operational and up and doing? So they build up the narrative for government, the people in NNPC, the people in the system, that, oh, let us go and fix the refinery. The refinery they have abandoned over the years, and they were enjoying importation because of the lucrative gap, importing poor quality petroleum product at the price of good petroleum product. And they now come in here, sell it below the market price and call it subsidy or recovery, whatever they call it. And they made few people to become so rich. So you and me, if you have an insight into how rich some Nigerians have become in the last 20 years through just this cartel, you will never even wait 1 minute to encourage President Tinubu to remove the lead, to deregulate it. So if these refineries have not worked in the last 20 years, it means it is the people in NNPC. I made bold to say it. It means it is the cartel that didn't want this refinery to work, and they don't want the refinery of Dangote to work. I give you one illustration. In 2003, I was in the team that went for the first kickoff meeting for the privatization of the refineries in this country, in London. 2003. And some of the international oil companies that were present in that meeting said, oh, Nigeria, you better go and get ready to improve on your import facilities at the ports, because your import facilities are very poor. So the add-on cost where we send products to you, white products, become very, very abnormal. So you can imagine that statement. He said we are not importing efficiently, that our ports were shallow, our handling facilities were bad. So they were telling us that time that nobody will touch our refinery. I said it, and President Obasanjo just said it somewhere recently. I am collaborating what he said. I was in the kickoff meeting for the privatization with Credit Suisse in London. So I am telling you that this conspiracy is about big money. And if you have insight to the amount of money we are talking about revolving this importation and the racketeering, you will encourage President Tinubu to go ahead and he has already even bailed the cat. He should go all the hog. So who says that Dangote is a monopolist? It's not a monopolist in this case. He has just arrived in the marketplace. So let them fix the 4 refineries. Why have they not fixed the 4 refineries in the last, since 2017, when they awarded the bogus fraudulent contract for Porako Refinery rehabilitation, $1.5 billion. And I believe now variations have already set in. It will not be $1.5 billion anymore. It may go to 1.8. So now they still have not fixed the refinery. It's not producing. So why will you now use Dangote as a scapegoat? Why will he become the whipping child of this country? Instead of the president of this country and Dangote should be operating at the same frequency level. I'm telling you.
All right, Mr.
Because
Akule,
the president should see him as the man who has come to economically liberate this country. Is not a monopolist. Let the government refinery work.
Okay.
Let us challenge NNPC to make the government refineries to work.
Mr. Akule, we should challenge the president because he is the minister of Petroleum and he supervises the NNPC. So when you say the NNPC should make the refineries work, the buck stops at the table of the president. So why are we deflecting responsibility when it comes to the president? But then the president retained the leadership of the NNPC.
I will encourage.
Yes. Go on, sir.
Steve, I will continue to encourage the president.
Yes.
I will continue to encourage the president to do the rightful, to do the needful. And we should all plead with the president. The president is the next to God in the nation.
I want to just follow up on Mr.
We cannot challenge God.
Here.
We don't challenge God. We will only prevail and plead and pray
I need to
the
enter
president.
here. We don't plead and pray to the president. We plead and pray to God if you believe in God. We elect our presidents, and then if they do not work, we elect another president in 4 years. Every 4 years, that's what we do in Nigeria. We don't plead or pray to the president. But following up on what Steve said earlier, he said that the buck stops at the president's desk. The president retained the head of the NNPC, Mele Kyari. Is that correct? He retained the same head of the NNPC.
I have never disputed.
You've not disputed that, yes.
That.
Also, when the head of the NNPC came out earlier
no.
and said that the NNPC was not lying and that Port Harcourt Refinery was in fact going to be online in August, now we are in November. The president has not wavered in his support of the head of the NNPC, has he?
Adesua, I have many times on this seat insisted that the president should sack the board of NNPC, sack the management of NNPC. I have never hidden my posturing, my pious status, my righteous voice.
I understand that. I understand that. But the president also...
Nobody's righteous.
But the president did change the board of the NNPC.
But let me clarify.
The current chairman of the NNPC was selected by the president.
Let me clarify. No, let me clarify. It is not one time we say it that we will give up. I will continue to insist, even if I see Mr. President today live, one-on-one, I will say, Mr. President, when are you going to dissolve the board of NNPC? When are you going to remove the management? Because, look, NNPC used to have one of the best stock of engineers, geologists, geophysicists, mining. Today, go to NNPC management. The entire place, engineering is almost dead in NNPC. NNPC can scope and work on front-end engineering in those days, from A to Z. Today, go there. Everybody is a commercial manager in NNPC to sell the crude that is not available, to sell the gas that is not available. So the institution in itself has become a rentier. Everybody is just there for brokerage fee. I am saying it. Put a forensic audit in NNPC today. Everybody there will go to jail almost.
Okay.
Except people that are not involved in marketing or anything.
All
so
right.
the president must be pleaded with. When I use the word plead, it doesn't mean I am dodging. No, it's because the authority, you have to plead with authority to do what is right. Because you and me, in a civilized setting, and I think I try to be as civilized as possible. That's why I use languages that are I'm very careful in the way I use my languages. So we must be very careful about saying, oh, we elected him. Okay, we elected him, but can you harass him now until 2027? You cannot harass him. You can only plead with him to do that which is right. And this is what I am doing here. I want him to level up this industry. This industry must be bailed out. Otherwise, this country will go Venezuela way. And Aliko Dangote must not be used as a scapegoat. His business must not be destroyed in this country deliberately.
Your point is clear. The president himself said just before he got into office, let the poor breathe. Nigerians have been pleading with the president. But then they are not harassing him. They've been pleading. But in pleading, they want him held accountable on the promises that he made, especially because he is the minister of Petroleum. So don't let us pass the buck to NNPC alone, because his office and the person of the president, supervise that office. But that's not where I'm going. I'm just making that point. Tell us in clear terms how much you think that Nigerians should be buying a liter of a locally refined petroleum. Because you have said here, without giving us much detail, as to counter what IPMAN executives are saying, that imported fuel appears cheaper than Dangote fuel. And we could trace the add-on cost that will make, that will arrive at a particular landing cost for the imported fuel. We know why it will be at 900 because of the price of Naira to the dollar. Will that also apply to Dangote, who is getting crude from Nigeria, who is buying at Naira, and who does not have importation cost on what is producing? Why should his petrol be at par with what we are importing, or, as IPMAN has insisted, is slightly higher? Why can't Nigerians, for example, or those who have expected that will buy at 600 Naira or 500 Naira per litre thereabout, why is that all of a sudden a mirage?
Steve, thank you very much for all this. Let me give you one template to work on. If Dangote is giving crude oil in Naira and he refine and add all the refining costs, plus premium, plus interest rate, everything. And he's put his price out there in Naira for just petrol for the domestic market. I put it to you that his price will be below 1,000 Naira.
Well,
it will be around between 950 and 990.
Well, I think instead
then
of you
I
putting
put
it
to you
us,
the other way around.
Yes, sir.
No,
I think Dangote Refinery, do you agree that Dangote Refinery can just come out and put it to us what their price is? It shouldn't be a secret.
I will tell you one thing. You know why at times, the narrative there is usually not very deep. It doesn't make econometric sense. I hope you know what I mean by econometric sense. Your variable cost is never fixed. The cost of crude every day varies. So when you work out the average on a weekly basis, you work out the average on a monthly basis, the price at which you are picking the product today may not be the same next week. So let us not just jump at times when you don't have deep knowledge of the econometry of petroleum pricing mechanism. So if the justification of IPMAN is just that, Dangote Refinery is selling petrol more than 1,000 Naira, let me ask you a question. Who says that petrol at 1,000 Naira per liter is not more lucrative for Dangote to export it? Do you know that if our Aliko Dangote, if it is not because of patriotism, it is better he refine his Euro 5, import the petrol, the crude, and export the petrol. Because today, I woke up at about 5 a.m. today, and I was checking the oil and gas data, and Texas is closing down a refinery of about 200 and something thousand barrels per day next year. America may even end up to import petrol from here. Or Europe, at least,
yes,
Europe will import petrol from Dangote.
Yes, sir.
So who says that 1,000 Naira? Why will we be so fixated about the actual price? That is still part of the problem. When you deregulate, petrol cannot be 1,000 in Lagos and be 1,000 in Maiduguri because Petroleum Equalization Fund is gone. Yes. So if we Nigerians are fixed on the unit price that it will come out from Dangote Refinery on daily basis, it means we are not understanding the econometry of pricing, the template.
Because
when you see plants,
I have to come in here, sir. Thank you.